Hi folks, it's Gary here and warm welcome to the fourth official here on YouTube. We've got a very special guest with us today, as you can see, not on my own for once. I'm joined by Hamilton Accies star Megan Quinn. Megan, very warm welcome to the fourth official.
I love to be here.
Thank you for joining us. Obviously, it's a big week for yourself. Obviously with your testimonial at the weekend, so felt it was quite timely in terms of kind of getting you on the site, just obviously kind of to continue some of the stuff we do here with regards to women's football. And I think with the game on Sunday, obviously the weather's looking great, which I think is obviously helpful, hopefully to get a good crowd in there. But in terms of like your kind of career, it's quite rare, I think, certainly from what I've seen, for a player to get to the testimonial stage. And I think it just a kind of testament, I think, to obviously the impact in the career you've had at Hamilton, that they're obviously giving you the honour of obviously having the game at the weekend. So talk to us a little bit about how the game at the weekend came about.
As you've said, I've been at the club for 10 years, and honestly, it feels like I've been there for about 5 minutes. But I think it's just absolutely testament to the club as to why I've stayed there for so long, because they've just been so good in like every possible sense of the word. Like obviously, like I signed from Celtic 10 years ago, and I've just never really looked back, to be honest. Like I fit right in straight away, and I've made so many like amazing friends since I've been there, and some really good teammates that I've went on to like bigger and better things as well. And yeah, like I just think like the main reason that I've kind of stayed for so long has just been like for the club. I mean, I wasn't a Hamilton fan when I started out, but I certainly will be leaving one. But no, you're right. It's quite uncommon to have, like a female player reaching that kind of milestone. But as I said, I just kind of think that it's amazing that the club have put this on, and I know it's kind of one of the first of its kind as well, and that's quite a scary thought, considering there's not that many players that are out there that have been about as long as myself. But no, I'm really looking forward to the game on Sunday. It'll be really nice to see like all my friends and family there, and all the support that I've had like over the years from them. And there's obviously like a lot of ex-players coming back to play as well, so it'll be really nice to catch up with some of the girls too, and a lot of the girls that I won the league with back in 2016. I know that they're playing too, so it'll be really nice to see all them as well.
Yeah. So for anyone that's not seen some of the social media posts that we've put out over the course of the last week or so, it's the current Hamilton side playing against a team of legends. I think legends is maybe a term that's used quite loosely these days when you see some of these games. But as you said, it is a lot of kind of ex-players that are coming back, players that have obviously been with Hamilton through some of their kind of more successful periods over the course of the last few years. So the fact that some of them are coming back. So talk to us about some of the names of the players that you can see if you come along to the game on Sunday.
Yeah, so you've got Gillian Ingalls is coming. She's currently the Motherwell women's captain. I played with Jill when I first signed, actually. I think we played about 3 or 4 seasons together, and she still remains one of my really close friends now. And she was the captain when I started, and to be honest, like she like made me feel right at home when I first joined, and I kind of feel as if like I've developed as a player through Jill as well. Which has been quite nice, and it's really good that we're still friends now. You've got Elaine Fleming coming back. She actually popped into training last night just to kind of get a wee feel for the ball again, because Elaine, I don't think, has kicked a ball in about 7 years. So that'll be interesting to see how she gets on in goals. But no, it'll be really lovely to see them. You've got MT Gardner coming back as well, again, one of our 2016 Cup winners. Laurie Gardner, Kathleen Toulon, Amy Lindsay, Amy McGill, again, like loads of good names there. Sarah Crilly, ex-internationalist as well. So it'll be amazing to see the girls, and I'm sure they'll be looking forward to it, but probably scared to play the 90 minutes, if I'm being brutally honest. But no, like it'll be great to see them, and it'll be good just to kind of celebrate. As much as it's kind of for myself, it's like a big thing for the club as well, that they've managed to have a player there for such a long time. So it'll be good to just kind of celebrate that with everyone, and seeing a lot of the ex-players there will be great.
And you mentioned earlier how you came about coming to Hamilton. Obviously, you started your career at Celtic, Megan. So people that are maybe not as familiar with yourself, obviously the women's game is going through a massive kind of boom period at the moment, and you're probably towards the kind of tail end of that. But you've seen that a lot of that kind of growth over the course of the last kind of 10 years, and the success, obviously, that's been in the big league, or particularly over the last kind of 2 or 3 years, where it's had the real kind of exciting finishes. But if people don't know you personally, how did you get into football, and kind of tell us a bit more about your story?
Yeah, so I was actually a dancer when I was younger, until I was about 6 or 7, and then my mum and dad, we actually moved house into like a new estate, and there was like no girls in the estate; it was just boys. So I just kind of ended up getting out to play kind of with them, and all they did was play football. So that's actually how I originally got into it. And then I kept asking like mum and dad for like football boots, like football tops, and but I was like still going along to my dancing and things like that, and then. I then just one day just turned down to my mum and said, I don't want to do dancing anymore. I want to go and play football. So I don't think it really came as much as a surprise, because as I said, like I was out playing with the boys in the street and things, just like going round the doors and things like that. So my mum and dad took me along to a local club, Whitburn Girls at the time, and I signed for their under 10s, I think it was, or under 11s at the time. And then I played there for years actually. Loved playing there, absolutely loved it. I played my 7-a-sides. It's obviously different now with the structure and things. There was no like fun 4s, fun 5s, like 9-a-side, anything like that when I was younger. So you played 7-a-sides and then you went straight to 11s. So I played there for, I don't know, maybe about 5 years. And then it came to the point where I was going to be moving to 11-a-side. And but I was only 12, and the only team that Whitburn had was an under-17s team. And my mum and dad just felt like that was quite a big jump for a 12-year-old to be going in and playing with, like 16, 17-year-old girls. And looking back in hindsight, it probably would have been a massive jump. So from there, I wasn't really sure what I was going to do. And it was actually my grandpa and the paper had seen that Celtic were advertising for an academy. They'd never had like a women's or a girls' academy before, and they were just putting an advert out, and they were holding open trials at Barrowfield. So he'd passed that on to my dad, and then my dad thought, well, we'll go along and kind of see what's what. My whole family are like lifelong like Celtic fans and things like that as well, so I think that kind of prompted them to do that too. So we went along, and it was 2 days of trials. It was a Saturday and then a Sunday. So you went along on the Saturday. And then if you were fortunate to be asked back, you were then asked back on the Sunday. So went along on the Saturday, and I was then asked to come back on the Sunday. And then on the Sunday evening, I was then asked to sign for their under-15 squad at the time. And as you can imagine, like I was absolutely ecstatic. Like I didn't think I was good enough to play at that level. Absolutely ecstatic. My full family were totally buzzing. So it just kind of started from there. So then I played under-15s at Celtic for a few seasons, and then I moved up to under-17s. And then I moved up to women's football from there. So that was kind of how I progressed through that kind of academy. And I learned quite a lot of my trade at Celtic, to be honest, like going through school and things like that, and trying to balance school and then, like training with Celtic at the time. And it was a lot of pressure, not just on myself, but even like on my family, because my brother at the time, he'd actually signed for Hibs. So we kind of stay in the central belt. So my dad was at one end of the country, and my mum was at the other end, with the twos. One at
Is he still
Lennoxtown
playing
and
now,
one.
or
No, he's not playing anymore.
no?
No, he's not playing. But at the time, the two of us were just at opposite ends of the country for years. And to this day, now that I'm a bit older, I can appreciate that. And I don't really know how they done it, to be honest. But no, I did that for years and travelled back and forth. And then actually went to university. I got into do PE teaching at uni when I was about 17, 18. And then I just then realised that the travelling was just going to be far too much. My university was in Edinburgh, so travelling from Edinburgh up to Lennoxtown at 5, 6 o'clock at night, it was really difficult. And to get there for a certain time, I was just really struggling with the travelling. But some nights I wasn't finishing uni till like 6:30, but I had to be like up at Lennoxtown for 7:30, and it was physically impossible. So I ended up just actually completely coming away from football, just because I just felt like I couldn't commit as what I had done years previous, and just decided to kind of focus on my studies and try and get my degree. But I only stopped playing for about 6 months, and then I really missed it. And it was actually a guy I know, he was coaching a local team in Livingston at the time, and he'd actually messaged me saying, oh, we're really struggling for players at the weekend, we've got this game, like, would you fancy coming in and helping us out? And I thought, may as well just give it a shot and see how we get on. So I went and played with them for a couple of games, and I just got the love for the game back. And then from there, I then rejoined Celtic again, just because, as I said, like I'd been there since I was 15. And then from there, I then went to Hamilton, and Gary Doctor was a big part in that. I had worked under Gary at Celtic, and then Gary had became the Hamilton first team manager. And I'd spoken to Gary, and I'd agreed to go in there and train. And then from there, I've been there ever since.
Rest is history. And Gary's obviously coming back for this weekend as well. I think he's managing the Legends team.
He is indeed, and he's also bringing his daughter along, so that'll be really nice to have her playing as well.
Fab. And there's another kind of blast in the past coming along as well. People who are maybe as old as I am will remember Lindsay Hamilton, the ex Rangers goalkeeper from 19 Canteen. And he's involved as well this weekend. So is he someone that was involved with Hamilton as well during your time there?
Yeah, so again, like way back in, God, when would that have been, 2020 when I first signed? No, 2020, oh God, whenever it was. Yeah, Lindsay was the goalkeeping coach at the time. Big character, massive character in the dressing room, really good guy. I actually knew Lindsay previously, again, through my brother. My brother was a goalkeeper as well, so my brother had kind of been in tow with Lindsay a few times just about kind of different teams and things that he'd played for, and Lindsay had put my brother onto Clyde. So I actually kind of knew Lindsay before I signed, and then when I signed, he was just an absolute bundle of joy. He's always full of jokes, and you wouldn't know he was a goalie coach because he was constantly in trying to coach the outfield players as well. But no, Lindsay's a brilliant guy, and it'll be good to see him on Sunday as well, and then see how he's getting on.
Yeah, I'm old enough to remember him playing for Rangers, so that probably tells you a lot about myself. Obviously, it's such a big honour to kind of get a testimonial, and obviously it'd be brilliant to kind of get a good crowd along for you. So where can people get tickets, or how do they get along to New Douglas Park on Sunday?
So it isn't ticketed. We're just doing donations at the door. So the kick-off's at 4 o'clock at New Douglas Park, and any donations are going towards one of our old previous goalie coaches as well, Andy Carlin. Unfortunately, Andy, during COVID, he reacted really badly to his vaccinations, and it's left him paralysed. So Andy's been travelling back and forth to London just to get treatment. He's also self-employed, so it's been a bit of a nightmare for him, and he's unable to work. So all donations and proceeds at the door are going to Andy, so there's no tickets required.
Fab. And what's the future holds after this season then? Is that the end, or is it a wind down, or?
I mean, I would love to say that I could keep playing, but I think my body's probably telling me otherwise, to be honest. I think, like when you train 3-4 nights a week for such a long period of time, and, give up so much time and dedication to something that you really love, it does take its toll on you. So, yeah, unfortunately, I think I am going to be hanging the boots up at the end of the season, but I just kind of feel it'd be a really good way to go out, like hopefully winning the league, and obviously on the back having the testimonial as well has been amazing. And the support and everything that we've had this season and in previous seasons has been great. And I just kind of feel it's probably the right time for me and my family for me to take a step back.
Yeah, it's been a good season for Hamilton. Obviously, we had the gaffer on earlier on this season talking a lot about the restructuring of the SWPL, and obviously the fact that there's a lot of changes happening in terms of the kind of league structure, with teams going up and teams going down, and reduction in fixtures in the big league, I think, from next season. So for Hamilton to be back at the top table in the league next year, that's a huge thing, obviously, for the team and for the club.
Absolutely. And I feel, as much as we were gutted last season when we got relegated, in hindsight, it's probably been the best thing for us. We've kind of managed to rebuild, and we've brought in some really quality players this year, which have added total value to the squad. And I feel with us going back up, we've definitely shown this season that we're more than capable of playing in that league. We drew Motherwell in the League Cup, who are obviously in the league above, and we took them to penalties. We just got put out in penalties. We had Queen's Park in the Scottish, again also in the league above, and we put them out. We beat them 3-1. So again, I think we've shown throughout the season that we are capable of competing against these teams in the top league, and certainly in the league. we've only been beaten in 3 occasions, and I think that across a season that's a great achievement. Hopefully it remains like that right enough until the end.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I feel like, as I said, like we've proved ourselves, and like we've lived up to I think a lot of us thought, or a lot of people certainly thought, that we should have won the league, and sometimes that can be quite hard to like live up to that expectation. But I feel like
especially Kilmarnock as well are a good side, and we're unfortunate, I think, not to do well in the playoff last season as well. So they were always going to be kind of there or thereabouts in SWPL2 this season. So for you to have that lead that you've currently got over them, obviously still a few games to go, so nothing's totally sealed yet, but it's looking good for you. So we'll obviously keep fingers crossed that happens. It's always good to have Hamilton back up there. When we were talking to Robert earlier on in the season, he was talking a lot about beyond probably the top 5 in Scotland. When you look at the 3 big Glasgow teams and the 2 teams from Edinburgh who have had brilliant seasons this season, there's probably not a great deal between probably the bottom 6 and the top league, and probably the top 2 teams and the bottom league. So I think it's gives you optimism. I think if you are to get promoted, that you can compete certainly with some of the teams at the lower end of the table. Certainly, obviously, I think Rangers and Celtic and Glasgow City's budgets are quite a lot more than obviously what you can see at the part-time level. But it's just to be back in conversation at the top league has obviously got to be the name of the game.
Absolutely, and as I said, if we can do that this season and get promoted, then job done.
And then is it back as a fan for next season, or involved with the coaching maybe, or that discussion still to be had?
I've so many people have actually asked me that over the last few weeks. Like, will I go back into coaching, or what will I do? But as I said, like previously, like my job is actually a teacher, and I couldn't think it any worse than coming home at night and having to go back out and do it again. But I'll definitely be returning as a fan for sure. I don't think they'll quite get rid of me that easy.
Fab. Just while we've got you on, obviously, get your take on the league title race, obviously, and obviously Hamilton looking very good in SWPL2. And then the Premier League just now, it's very tight at the top. Obviously, Hibs doing really, really well this season, trying to compete, obviously, with the likes of Rangers, Celtic, and Glasgow City. Hearts still kicking about as well. Have you been watching it with interest, and have you got any predictions in terms of how that league's going to go this year?
I mean, the girls are doing amazing in that league. Like the teams that are competing against one another, they're pushing each other to the limits, and it's only good for Scottish football. For a long time, obviously, Glasgow City were kind of pushing away at the front and kind of leading the line there. But the fact that there's a few other teams that are in that race as well, I think is fantastic. And as I said, it's only credit to Scottish women's football and the place that we're in. But I mean, I think Rangers are looking strong. At one point, I thought City were out it, but now they seem to have creeped right back into it. My prediction would probably be City or Rangers, I think, this season.
Okay, well, watch with interest. Plenty of coverage of women's football, as always, here on the Fourth Official, both here on YouTube and also over on our Patreon channel, including full coverage of Megan's testimonial on Sunday. We've got Rhiannon going along on behalf of the Fourth Official, so early part of next week we'll have a report on how the game and the day went. But it's a big thank you to Megan for giving up her time on the eve of our big weekend. Really appreciate you coming on and talking to us.
Not a problem. Thanks for having me.
Big thank you for you for watching. As always, you can get loads more coverage here on the channel and also over on Patreon. It's www.patreon.com/the4thofficial. You can join us for less than £3 per month. Thanks for watching. We'll speak to you next time. Goodbye.